Welcome to the weekly Health RX by Arvasi. I'm Dr. Avanti Kumar-Singh.
And I'm Dr. Tanmeet Sethi. We're physicians trained in modern medicine and experts in Ayurveda. And each Sunday, we cut through the noise with physician-led, science-backed prescriptions personalized to your biology.
From your hormones and gut to your circadian rhythm and nervous system, we'll help you take care of the systems that matter most so you can stop guessing and start feeling better. Finally, medicine that fits you.
Hello and welcome. This is your weekly Health RX for the week of December 21st. I'm Dr. Tanmeet Sethi.
And I'm Dr. Avanti Kumar-Singh. Wow, last week of the year, huh?
I know, we're in it, and it's the winter solstice. Mm-hmm. So the shortest day and longest night of the entire year. And the last week of fall, we've been talking about fall season all season long, right? 11 weeks of building and adjusting and regulating. And now we have this turning point. And, before the calendar tells you it's time for a resolution, before you rush into that new year, kind of a little bit of chaos about what you're going to proclaim, it's nice to just have a moment to honor where we are in the season. Because the solstice isn't about adding more, it's about releasing what's ready to go. And so this week, we're going to give you a 2-part ritual in the morning and evening to clear before you start building into that new year. And so, it's really this way to say, even if it's what you want is a fresh start in the new year, you really don't want to drag what's accumulated all season into it. You want to let go of that first.
Mm-hmm. And it's actually, even at this time of the year, I feel like, at the end of December, it's not only what has accumulated from the season, it's also what's accumulated from the last calendar year.
Yeah.
We live in this Western culture where this calendar is sort of rules everything. And we're told that January 1st, it's a new year. And so it's a fresh start, new year,
right.
new, all this stuff. And so I think there is a lot of pressure, but I think that we can also turn it into something like a ritual as a time to really reflect on the past calendar year and let go of what doesn't serve us anymore. So it's not just seasonal, but I think it's the whole year, the calendar year that we're letting go of. That's how I look at it anyway.
Yeah, no, that's really true. That feels really big now. I'm taking a moment.
And I know that, Tanmeet, you always say that the winter solstice is your favorite holiday. And I would love if you would just share, because I know you do some beautiful, beautiful traditions with your family and your community. Can you tell us what you do?
Yeah. I don't think it's that unique maybe, but it is really nourishing for us is that, on the solstice weekend, we usually have a solstice party. And what that means is we invite people over, and it's often quite big. Some years it's been smaller through the pandemic, but we have a area set up. When it's a smaller group, we do it all together at the same time. When it's a larger group, we have an area set up of candles that are unlit. And we ask everyone to light a candle and make a wish on their own if it's in one area, or together if we do it together. And it really, sometimes people write down their wish next to the candle, and so they're all accumulating through the evening. But it's really powerful in this pitch black. It gets dark so early on that day, this month in general, but on that day. And in this area of the room, it just keeps lighting up stronger and stronger and stronger. And you can feel it in the room, as everyone does it. And it's just this way for us to remember that, the light is always there, no matter how dark it is. And sometimes I really think of what it must have been like before people understood that it was a solstice. I'm sure they were just scared seeing it get darker and darker, like the world was ending. And in the metaphor and context of just if you're in a hard season in your life, or if you're acknowledging the world is so hard, it's nice to remember that the light always comes back.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so beautiful. And actually today, the day that this is being released is actually the winter solstice. And so I think that might just be even just a beautiful thing that you can just do this evening,
Right.
If you're listening to this earlier in the day, is just light some candles and do this kind of just a ceremony for your family or just for yourself. I know that, what we do is kind of similar, but I actually, the whole week leading up to it, and then even after, I think it's like a holiday thing for me. I just love lighting tons of candles in my dining room. We have a whole bunch of candles on the table, and we just light them every evening. As soon as it's like 4 o'clock and it starts to get dark in Chicago, which is so depressing, but we just light those candles and let them burn the whole evening. And there's just this, again, it's like that warmth, that reminder that the light will always shine through the darkness. There's so much symbolism in it, but it's just, it makes me feel good. So that's one of the things that I love to do. And I do it, pretty much all through December, but really intensely at the end of December and even into January. So it's a really nice thing. But, I think that we should really talk about why the solstice actually matters for our bodies. Like, what is the physiology, sort of the biology of what's going on with the winter solstice? Because it's not just symbolic. It does actually have an effect on us.
Right.
I'll let you, Tanmeet, go into that.
I mean, it's really what you're saying. It's not just symbolic. It's actually biology, right? Because we have research to show that our circadian rhythms are the most disrupted at solstice times because day and night ratios are at their extreme. And it's almost like your internal clock needs a little bit of a reset. Like now we need to turn in a different direction. And so we have studies to show that that morning light exposure that we've talked about before is really very powerful during these winter months. It serves as an anchor. Think of it as a circadian anchor, so that even 10 to 15 minutes can reset your melatonin and cortisol curves. And I would say, even though we've talked about this many times about that morning light exposure, it's really important to think about it this week, especially because there's this fascinating research also that when you combine morning light with brief cold exposure, so even just that crisp winter air, you get a compound effect. And so cold is briefly activating your sympathetic nervous system, which then can trigger a parasympathetic rebound. And so it's like light is telling your brain, it's time to start the day. And together, the cold air and the light can create what researchers call a circadian reset window. And so really thinking about how am I going to reset as I go into the new year? I find this solstice also, Avanti, you're asking me why it's my favorite holiday. I find it really powerful to have a moment to pause like this before that new year comes and I feel some sense of, am I going to have a resolution or do anything new? And so, really this week you could, if you haven't been doing it, you could reassign that as a ritual in the morning to go out in that crisp air and just get that morning light and say, this is my time to reset. This is my chance.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually, reminds me of so much of the research that's been done in Japan about forest bathing. And they've actually done some research even on winter forest bathing that, even this time when you are outside for maybe 15 to 20 minutes among trees in a forest, right? Even bare ones and in the crisp cold air, like you already told us, that you actually are boosting your immune system. There's increased activity of NK cell activity. And it also, again, like we already talked about, reduces cortisol. It helps to manage your cortisol and your melatonin because of that light exposure. So something as simple, again, I mean, this is the power of these practices, is that just something as simple as getting some morning light with some exposure outside in nature, some just natural, prana into you can do so much for your biology. It's really powerful. So that is going to be part of the prescription this week.
Right. And I mean, we're not going to be with you till after the new year. So, I would think of it as something to do till then, really in this holiday season. And then we have an evening component to add to that practice, which is reflective journaling. Now, I really do want to highlight the science here because people think journaling is just to feel good or whatever. But, I talk about this research in my book, actually, but Dr. James Pennebaker really showed us in prolific research that expressive writing actually physically changes your stress response. It's not just, does it make me feel good, which, by the way, it probably makes you feel good because of the biochemistry. But, there is a difference in not just writing anything, but writing about what you're releasing. That can actually activate different neural pathways than just writing in a planner of what you're doing. And it moves emotion, basically from that primal midbrain in the limbic system into the prefrontal cortex. So it really moves you in a way that helps your stress response. And we know that just 15 minutes of reflective writing can reduce cortisol, improve immune markers. I mean, people actually do better in their immune
Right.
system and they feel better. They ruminate less afterwards. And so, the solstice is just a beautiful time to think about this because it's, like we said, a fresh start
Right.
time. It's a time to really think of, how am I going to release and reset?
Yeah, exactly. And so like this morning component. So, really what the prescription is for this week is this 2-part sort of solstice protocol, ritual, whatever you want to call it, is this morning practice of getting outside for 10 to 15 minutes, resetting in that morning light outside in that crisp, cold air. It's really going to shift you. And that also helps with the melatonin and cortisol. So it's resetting your circadian rhythm, which is really, really important for your biology. And then this second part, which is this evening reflective journaling, which again, like Tanmeet just told you, it really allows you to release a lot of what you're holding, right? You're going from feeling to processing. It's really, really important for your health. And both of these practices, the morning and the evening, they help to reduce your cortisol. They help to improve your immunity. There's so many good reasons to do this. So we hope that you'll really, really take this to heart and try this out.
Yeah. And I would say it's so powerful no matter what dosha you are. And I think that what you'll find, depending on your dosha, is that what you need to reset about and what you need to release is just different, right? I've said many times that I'm a Vata Pitta dosha. And what that means is that I am prone to having accumulated anxiety and irritation, depending on which part of my dosha it gets out of balance. And so, when I'm writing or doing that reflective writing, I might be getting out some of those anxious thoughts, those scattered thoughts, or my irritated thoughts, depending on what's accumulating. I mean, what accumulates for you, Avanti?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Pitta Kapha. So for me, it's the irritation, maybe anger, frustration, but then it's also can be a lot of sort of melancholy and just feeling sort of sad. Those are things that I really need to move through me at the end of the year. And I also find, again, like I mentioned before, it is a seasonal accumulation. But for me, I've really noticed that it is a full year accumulation. For whatever reason, I feel like I get to December and I start thinking about all of these things. They're like in my head a lot. I'm really reflecting on the year. And so if I don't take that time to actually process it and get it out of me into paper, I feel like it just sits there longer. So reflective journaling is really, really helpful to me, I find, to just process and release what I don't want to take with me to the next year.
Yeah. And so, I mean, what I think we are saying is that we can ask you, depending on your dosha, to just be aware of whatever's accumulating for you. And when you sit down to do that reflective journaling, take a moment, a few breaths, and just really reflect on what is most present for me that I feel I need to release and write about that, right? And I mean, it's a really good reminder that knowing your dosha is really powerful. And so that brings more awareness to what may be stuck and what you need to move in you. And so, as we give you this prescription for this week, we also would, just ask that you remember to find out your dosha so that you have that power going into the new year, right, Avanti?
Yeah, I mean, because when you know what your dosha is, when you know what your mind-body constitution is, you can personalize all of these very powerful practices even more. You can amplify the effects. And so, we would love for you to know what your dosha is. Go to myarvasi.com. It's a free assessment and it's a beautiful gift to yourself, just knowing more about yourself. I think people are always so amazed that what they get after doing that assessment, the feedback of, this is your dosha and this is sort of what you're like when you are, feeling in balance versus out of balance, people are like, oh my gosh, how do they know me? Like, do they know me? Like, how do they know me? And you get a lot of information. And I think it's empowering because then you understand why you react the way that you do to things, why you have certain symptoms that show up at different times of the year. You'll actually understand yourself better, and it gives you more power to actually do something about it. You don't feel like you're always dependent on things outside of you. You actually learn how to take care of yourself better. So that's my wish for everybody. I hope that you will really just take a couple of minutes to do that. It's going to be linked in the show notes so you can get there. And once again, your prescription for this week is this winter solstice clearing protocol or ritual. Get that morning walk outside in the cool, crisp air to reset your circadian rhythm. And then do some evening journaling to really release and process any of the accumulated emotions, feelings, thoughts that you have. And, you could try it today on December 21st or keep doing it the whole week until the end of the year, which is what I'm going to be doing. So,
yeah. I mean, remember, don't skip this because you don't want to just jump straight to the resolutions. You want to make space for those resolutions to have a place to grow. You want to really clear what you need to.
Okay, friends. So this is our last episode of the year of 2025. We have been with you every week, actually since June, but now since October, 11 weeks of the fall season, building practices to support your body, navigating the season together. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up for yourself, for your health, and for trusting the two of us to guide you through this. Anything from you, Tanmeet? That's my wish for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, same. Just wishing you a beautiful and smooth holiday season. I hope that the start to your new calendar year has a lot of ease.
Yes. So we'll see you in January of 2026. And we will start off the new season, the winter season together. New season, new practices, same commitment to your health and well-being. Until then, happy winter solstice, happy holidays, happy new year, and be well. Thanks for listening to the Weekly Health RX by Arvasi. Be sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen so you never miss your weekly prescription.
And make sure to take the Arvasi Dosha Data Assessment at myarvasi.com, linked in the show notes, so you can unlock your biology and get your own personalized weekly prescription.